Hello, it's me, Miss Palumbo, and today we are going to go over Objective 1 of the Energy 1 focus area. So, in case you forgot, because I know you read it, Objective 1 of Energy 1 says, describe how kinetic energy depends on the mass and speed of an object, okay? There's a lot of vocab words in there, so we're just going to go over them really quick. So kinetic energy is the energy something has when it's moving. So when an object is moving from one place to another, how much energy does it actually have? Mass is similar to weight, and that's kind of how we're going to think about it for the time being, just to make things easier on our brains. Speed is how fast something is moving. I assume we're familiar with this vocab word. All right? So we are going to look first more at kinetic energy. So again, kinetic energy is the energy something has when it's moving. So we are going to look at some examples. Let's go.
A ball moving through the air.
Wow, those were some pretty cool examples of things that are moving and therefore have kinetic energy. But let's look at some non-examples. So something that do not have kinetic energy.
A ball resting on the ground, not moving. Or a parked car.
There's absolutely no kinetic energy going on here. Wow, what a great time that was. So that showed us some things that have kinetic energy, some things that don't. So the next thing we're going to look at is what actually changes how much kinetic energy something has. There are two main things that will change how much kinetic energy an object has. The first is the mass. Second is speed, right? Remember those words from before? So when we think about mass, the more mass, so the heavier something is, the more kinetic energy it will have. Confusing? Hopefully not after these super cool examples.
All right, so I have two objects here, a tennis ball and a basketball. Which one do you think has a greater mass? I would say the basketball. So, in terms of kinetic energy, once they start moving, they will have kinetic energy. If I throw them both at the same speed, which one will have a greater kinetic energy? The tennis ball or the basketball, right? Woo! So, if I just threw them both up at the same speed while they were moving, they both had kinetic energy. But which one had more? That's for you to answer below in the checkpoint. Woo! Our second example is these weights that I can definitely lift easily. So one of them is a 4-pound weight and one of them is a 10-pound weight. If I'm lifting them and moving them at the same speed, which one has a greater kinetic energy? The 4-pound weight or the 10-pound weight? Again, you're going to answer in the checkpoint below.
All right, so hopefully now we have a good idea of how greater mass gives us more kinetic energy, right? Remember that. The next thing we're going to look at is speed. So the more speed something has, so the faster it's moving, the more kinetic energy it has. And we are going to look at some examples as well. I bet you know where this is going. We're going back outside. Woohoo!
So if I have two objects that have the same mass, for example, these two weights that are both 4 pounds, but if they move at different speeds, which one will have a greater kinetic energy? The one that moves slower or the one that moves faster? Which one would have a greater kinetic energy while it's moving, of course? Answer in the checkpoint below. Which one would have a greater kinetic energy?
All right, next we're looking at two tennis balls, exactly the same mass, same size, same weight, everything. If I move them at different speeds, which one will have a greater kinetic energy? Right? Let's see. Which one do you think just had a greater kinetic energy? The one that moved faster or the one that moved slower? Answer below. Hopefully those examples helped you really understand how speed, apart from mass, can make something have more kinetic energy, okay? So make sure all of the answers are answered below in the questions below in the checkpoint.
Just a quick recap. Kinetic energy is how much energy something has when it's moving. Okay, if an object is not moving, it does not have kinetic energy, right? For example, every object on this table is not moving, therefore they have no kinetic energy. Something that is moving, anything that is moving, has kinetic energy. Anything that's moving, anything. And the more mass or the heavier something is, the more kinetic energy that object will have. And the faster something is going, the more kinetic energy it will have. That's it. Hopefully that's super easy. And hopefully you get through the checkpoint. Woohoo! Objective 1, done.